go. Okay, we're now recording. Well, does anyone have any specific questions? I mean, this is a Q&A session.
I have tons of questions, but I guess I would like to know, is this for a certain level? I don't want to ask, I'm a beginner, so I don't want to ask questions that make everybody else crazy.
Well, sometimes even just going back to the basics is good for everyone, so.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm a beginner too, so I'd be happy to hear any questions.
Me
Okay.
too.
I'm a beginner as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I use the program, but there's so many options. I'm just totally lost with all the different options at each level.
Yeah.
Now, I like the defaults. Those produce a nice book, just like it is, if your information in Family Tree Maker is correct.
Yeah, I
that's
just pulled up a default book and was looking at it now, and it looks really nice. I mean, I have a few things I want to change, but I know you have units online that I've been meaning to go through. Those would be helpful, wouldn't they, for beginners like myself to read through some of your units?
Yeah, that's in the main Family Tree Makers group. Probably wouldn't hurt. We could probably come up with something like that in the Family Book Creators group, you know, for
Oh, I see. Okay.
maybe common settings.
Okay.
You know, like, because there are a lot of common questions that people do ask,
Mhm.
you know, and maybe explaining, you know, exactly what certain settings do. Some of the stuff is, well, a lot of the stuff is explained in the user guide, but kind of one of the blessings and one of the curses of the Family Book Creator is all the options. You know, is like you got lots of the ability to change everything, but with all the options, it's always finding out which option do you need to change to do what.
Right. So I guess one question I had is it worth upgrading to the 2019? I mean, worth in terms of some of the features, or, you know, could I experiment with the 2017 for now and be satisfied?
Personally, I'd stay with whatever the latest upgrade is.
Yeah, it's
You mean 2019?
Yes.
the 2019 gives you more the word processing aspects. It does give you like one of the common things people have always wanted to do is like, you know, it's like here I'm doing a descendants book or ancestors book, you know, I want to put a picture on the title page of them. Well, now, before it's like, okay, well, you save it as a Word document, you put in the picture. Well, now, and with Family Book Creator 2019, you can do it automatically. Well, here, I'll just,
Yeah, and I'd suggest for everybody, especially starting out, when you start working with the Family Book Creator program, create a book for like one generation until you get things how you like it.
yeah.
Sometimes if you have a lot of people, it could take quite a while to generate the book. But if you just start with one, maybe then go to 2 generations, and then once you have everything the way you want, then do more.
And also in that light is turn the photo album off when you're first looking at your text settings and family settings, because the report will generate much faster without the images. Then once you get that set, then you can turn the images on and generate the book that way.
Yeah, here's the Family Book Creator 2019. Like, here's like a title page. Let's bring this up to full screen. So here's like the descendants. Here's one I did for my third great grandfather who came over from, well, the Cologne, Germany area. Well, here I found this public domain photo here of Cologne, Germany. And I thought, well, I don't have a picture of him and his wife. So I thought, well, this might just make a nice cover for it.
Mhm.
you know. And then likewise on the it also kind of makes nice for like a dedication page. Because with text then now it's like here, you know, here it's like, this is on a different line, but no, here I can actually put people's faces to it. You know, who have given me information.
Yeah. And then the other neat things with 2019 and this, let's see, I think I've got to start sharing. This tree is, you can start assigning like with 2017, you can add in like PDF files, but you can't do like document files. Well, now you can. Like here I've got a document here, you know, on the early Norman County's settlers. This is, you know, my great-great-grandparents. And now, and this story right here doesn't necessarily pertain to just one person here. Now, I haven't actually put this into a book yet. So Stefan, you can correct me if I'm doing this wrong, but I've got, so I can now do this handle story as text, so it won't treat it as an image. And now here I can also tell it to add it before the family chart, where let me just add this is just one. Here's the, you can't see what I'm working on. Let me just share my screen here. Now you can see this family of starting points, Joan of Acre. So here's the family tree chart. It could put this, I think I closed that document. It can put this document, so it would appear before this tree chart, or I could have it go after, you know, because it kind of describes more of the family rather than a specific person.
Do you put it in that document that we're looking at in the, by doing that drop-down menu, or are you going to click and copy and paste it somewhere? And
no, it's like, this one is attached to, yeah, this one is attached to the Peter Olson Waller. That's, okay, well, this one's my second great granduncle. So this,
is it a media file?
Well, it's a Word document.
Yeah, but is it in the media file?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it's attached to him directly.
But how did you figure out, how did you manage to put it where you wanted it? You said you could put it at the beginning or at the end.
Oh, that's with the media categories.
Gotcha.
So are those media categories all mentioned in the manual? I don't see, I see some of them, but not all of them. The ones that you have in there.
All of them are in there except for the last, there's like the last 4, there's a few that aren't in the 2019 one. Because the ads, the ones for ad story as text, that's only in 2019. And in the family book creator group, there is in the file section, I created a text file called FBC Media Categories.txt, which just basically has this. It's just a list of these media categories.
Okay, how do we get access to those then?
In the family book creator group.
Oh, in the group, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not, oh, okay, in files.
Yeah, you just go to files and it's right here.
Okay.
You can just download it.
And you find the details in the user guide, of course, right?
Right.
So about this, how to include content from word processing documents. This starts on page 49 and gives you the details, what the media categories means and how they are used.
Yeah, and if you haven't downloaded the user's guide, always in the pinned announcement here, this last link here takes you to the download area.
Okay.
So this is handy if you say you got another computer and need to reload it, your computer crashed, so you just pick your family book creator version, either 2017, 19, or maybe you've got an older one. Click the download link. Here's the user guide right here, so you can download it. And here's even the date on it, so you can tell if there's an update. Here's the latest family book creator. And usually I think, well, family book creator will tell you if it's running an out-of-date version too, and will tell you to download it. But
one other thing on those on the media categories for family book creator, you do need to copy them one at a time and add them as a new media category on that media category screen.
I have no idea what you just said. Could you say that again?
You want to show them, John?
well, here I'll show you, because I've got a tree here. This is a tree I downloaded from Family Search. And then, so here's the media category. To add these media categories, you go, well, let me, here, I gotta close down Family Book Creator. You go to the media, you go to the media tab here. And then you just go up to media and say categorize media. So here's like the default media thing. So you just go add. And this is why, no, let me just close it. And here's why I like the text file, is so you can just copy and paste.
Okay.
Go here, go to the next one, copy it, add it, paste.
So it's just one category at a time.
Yeah. And I just go through, and you only have to do this once, well, per tree, obviously. You only have to do this once per tree, but you know, so once you've added them, they're added.
So you can also just add only those categories you need, right? You do not have to add everything.
Yeah, you don't have to. I just go ahead and add them all because I figure it's just better to have them and not need them than the other way around. But yeah, there's some that I've never used, you know. But
I'm confused. If they're there, where are you adding them to? You're looking.
I'm adding them in Family Tree Maker.
Yeah.
To the media categories. They're custom media categories in Family
Okay.
Tree Maker.
Okay.
Also on a person's media, click right
Yeah.
click on one of them and
And-
view details.
And see, like here, let me go back to mine. So like here's that Norman County one. So see now this one, see I've assigned it this handle story as text, before family chart. Now if I wanted it to be after the chart, I just click that one.
So you can click more than one.
Yes. And like for certain things like a PDF file, like here's like here's like a wedding announcement that I clipped from newspapers.com and saved as a PDF. And while you can see there's a bunch of stuff like in the book, I don't necessarily want to print all this extra stuff. You know, basically I just want to print this article itself. So typically, okay, so to do a PDF file, you tell it to put it in this handle story as image. And because there's this other stuff in this PDF file, I say use only the largest image. So it will only print this item. It won't print this extra stuff on here. And then I can also just tell it, since this is kind of a long skinny, I know like how it printed, you can't really read it when you print it in a book by the default settings. So I just also tell it to print full width. So that way then in the book, you can actually read it.
Can you show us what that looks like?
Sure, that's,
Oh, because you'd have
let's
to
see
run
if
the
I,
book.
well, here, I'll just create a short book. Let me just go to this person here.
What's also interesting in Family Tree Maker, you can categorize multiple media elements with one shot, right? So you can select multiple items in the media workspace and select the categorized media from the context menu. So if you would like to assign this full width option for multiple images, you can select them all at once and assign them to the media category.
This shouldn't take too long to generate.
So if we already have a lot of media out there, we can still go back now and categorize it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's that. So yeah, so here's how that PDF article prints out.
Okay. Yeah, you can read it.
Yeah.
So categorizing media in Family Tree Maker, if you select an image and use the Shift key, you can select continuous areas of media. And then if you use the Control key instead, you can select individual pieces of media. Maybe John can show that.
Yeah, because I can, yeah, because you can, well, actually, let me just load up a different tree here real quick here.
So as not to mess up your main tree, huh?
Well, with 2019, I can always use the rollback option, but it's. Oh, this one doesn't, yeah, this one doesn't have a bunch.
You can show it on
That's enough.
I'll just use the rollback option. It doesn't really matter. But like here's stories like, okay, here, these are PDF files. I'm just holding down the Control key, selecting these.
And then you'll select the right mouse button or the alternate mouse
Yeah,
button.
and then categorize. Yeah, yeah, they already are selected handle story as text, but then say I could say
Yeah, mark them all as stories. And that categorizes them all that same way.
Maybe you can also show that it's possible to switch the grouping on the left side to list them by media category. So then you
Oh, that
can
would be
easily
good.
find
Right.
images you have
Yeah,
assigned a
because
specific category to.
if you do this, so if you want to see which ones are there, or let's just see, okay, here's some that I haven't categorized yet. And just scroll down.
So early up in that list, you could see there was a bunch of census images that could be done fairly quickly.
Oh, yeah. You know, like here, you know,
And
just
you can
do
use,
that. You know, you can say, categorize. Okay, those are census.
Oh, I didn't know that.
you can use shift to do ranges, and then with those selected, you can then do control and do individual items too,
Yeah.
in addition to the range. Now do control and you can then select.
Yeah.
Quickly categorize things very fast.
If you use the Windows Explorer, it's the same keystroke for selecting items here.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this
Now,
is the right
if you've
time to
reconfigured your mouse to the alternate buttons, then you'd use the left button to select instead of the right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
So
don't know if
yeah,
this-
it's like if you wanted like categorize, okay, these are like tombstones or cemetery, you know, you can do the same thing that way, you know, it's like, okay, those are cemetery, you know, and just keep working your way. Yep, these are more census.
So if there's something that you don't do in Family Tree Maker regularly, if you don't categorize, at least you can do it quickly after the fact.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that you can do really quick if you don't do them a little bit at a time. Like if you're editing a citation and you wait until a long time to do those edits, can take forever. But this one can be done very quick.
So once you have categorized these, then if you sync to your ancestry tree, what happens on the other end?
Well, if you notice, like up here, this is my sync state. I've been categorizing media. Nothing has to get synced. Your categorized media does not sync. Putting the media into a category or changing it doesn't trigger a sync because that information does not sync to Ancestry.
So
I'm guessing that's because Ancestry only sees the media, it doesn't see the different categories. So the only way it would doing something with media and causing a sync would be if you add or delete a media. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I change the caption, that would change. That would trigger a sync.
Yeah, the thing to remember too, if you ever would have a need to download your tree from Ancestry, none of the media categories are included. So you would be redoing those.
Yep, just the media itself. Apparently Ancestry does not recognize media categories.
Correct.
Right.
The question I got about Family Tree, the Family Book Creator is, I haven't used it in a while, and I'm not even sure if I'm on the right 2019 version, but does it still create generations one number off from Family Tree Maker? For example, I should be generation number 1, but last time I looked at FBC, it showed generation 1 as being my parents.
That's correct.
Yes, it does. And
why?
Well, it's kind of like, what was the first century? It was started at 0. The first century wasn't 100. But it's numbered in that kind of way.
So the initial why I start with generation 0 for the starting individual is because you can go backwards and forward, and there is going to be in a future version an option where you may change it, but has not been implemented. So some people are asking, they would like to see the same generation numbers like they are in Family Tree Maker. But I think they are wrong in Family Tree Maker.
Well, that may be, but and I appreciate the fact that we'll have the option in the future, because if I'm talking to somebody and they've got both the family book thing I've created and Family Tree, I can tell them we'll start at generation 13 or something, then we'll both be on the same generation. They'll know where we're looking. I would prefer the option. That way we can go either way. And I wasn't sure if that was possible. So definitely looking forward to that update.
Yeah, but if you think about what John is showing us right now, families of his descendants, so the first generation of descendants, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the second generation. And in Family Tree Maker, it would be the second generation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Stefan, being you mentioned the word future version, I've got to ask my big question. Is there a
I
Mac
always have a
version?
long list of enhancement requests, so I'm not going to put a date on this feature.
Well, will there be a version at some point for the Mac?
Yes, at some point, yes.
Will it be while I'm still around to produce my book?
Hmm.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
going to
so
live to
I'm
be
sorry, I'm not giving a
150.
date.
Okay.
I like to talk about features which are
How old are you?
things which are there. I do not want to promise something which is not available right now.
You can do a nice book right in Family Tree Maker.
Yeah, that does have a nice book in
I
it.
disagree. Definitely what you can do in Family Book Creator is far superior. But now it means I do all my ancestry work on a Mac, and I have to go over and go to another computer or a different, I forget the word
So
to say, but I
actually,
can
I'm
run it in
working on a
Windows
Mac
and do it
and
there.
I'm using
Going back and forth really is a pain.
Have you thought about installing one of those Windows emulators on your Mac? Then you can work on one computer.
And actually, that's what I do. I use Parallels.
Ah, okay.
But I do the work on the tree in the Mac side of it. Then I have to go to the other side to work on the tree. And I would prefer if we could get away from having to do that.
Yep, I hear you. I've got some DOS programs I still run, even though I'm still running Windows 7, and I have to jump to an emulator. But I understand where you're coming
The
from. That
only
would be a
DOS
nice
program
thing.
I run at this point is FPC.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it's still not around, but it takes some time.
I understand.
They do, yep.
And as a Mac
Just so
user,
you know, there is a desire out here.
as a Mac user, you always have this issue that some software is only available for Windows and not for Mac. And yeah, sometimes it's also the other way around, but in very rare situations. And so the good thing with running an emulator on the Mac would be that you can run the best of both worlds, right? But yeah, I know a real Mac user hates Windows and does not want to run Windows on his machine. So,
as someone that started with PCs in 1980 and been using Windows PCs all along, once I found out there's Mac PCs, I found out for publishing and probably things like Family Book Creator, actually a Mac is probably a better option. But unfortunately, there's so few of them out there, you have to use an emulator to use these Windows products. But it is what it is.
Yep.
I have a question right here. When I created a book, and as you can see, the Spolia Alder Waller that you have there.
Yeah.
No, it went away. The description of the person, but then it will insert, say, a census record. It won't give the whole text about the person. It'll do a couple of lines, and then it'll insert a say a census record, and then maybe a couple more lines, and then a census record, rather than putting the whole story of the person together. What am I doing wrong?
Right now, it's only possible to add media elements inside this photo album section, which is at the end of the family section. or you are using media from Word documents which you can put before or after a family chart. So I know that users would like to see media items directly being added inside the text, chronological at the location where the item belongs to. But yeah, this is also on the list. It's not done yet. So right now you can only add media items at the end of the family section.
Now, if you're talking about the text being there, it might be that you have that you're doing your narrative by time, and that's when those occur. John, I don't know if you have one where you're showing like the census or residence facts as a table. If you do,
yeah, that's actually the way I do them. Let me.
Okay, like what's showing here right now.
It's like here.
It'll tell about the person, say Peter P. Waller was born, that information.
Yeah.
But then it'll stick in there, in the middle of that paragraph, it'll stick in there a census record. I see Plentywood, Montana, that's where I'm from originally.
Yeah, census records, in my opinion, don't work well as a narrative.
And so that's why there's the option in Family Book Creator to put those as a table where they make a little more sense.
Yeah.
Like the residence facts are kind of that way too, in a sense, if you're using them from, say, the census information.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone back and forth between using the census or residence. I've just started at residence. I've left them.
Well, what it does, it takes from the sources is what it does. It puts what's in my sources in.
I did not get your question correctly. Are you talking about source citations or the image from the census records or the details you have recorded for the census?
No, not the actual census record, not the document, but what I have put into the sources will go in. That'll show up in there. And how do I keep it from doing that?
Okay. By default, it is selected to include source citations as footnotes. And you may want to select that they should appear as endnotes at the end of the document. Or you may select to switch it off. So it's on preferences general, if you can show it, please.
Yeah.
General, there you can specify how source citations should be handled.
Now there's another option. You may have some of your your citation information in the note with the fact or the description. John, go back to that option for the book items.
Oh,
and then you had residents selected there, and see fact notes. You might have some of that information in the fact note.
Yeah.
So if it's there, then you have include, like John has said, that would include that information there. If it's actually the citation, then the other information would be used. So you might want to see how your description and the fact note for that fact is, where's it at? If it's just the citation, it should be in the footnote or endnote. If it's in the description field of Family Tree Maker or the fact note field, it would print with when it prints the fact information.
It's in the sources.
Yeah, if the source information was in the description or note of the fact, it would print where you're seeing it. If it's in the foot or in the actual citation, it shouldn't print in that paragraph.
Oops.
Yeah.
I'm
John,
just
you have one
wondering
where you
if,
have description. You probably have someone with description being shown.
hang on, I'm wondering if it's let me just see here. I gotta. If it's one of those where, like, if you use the web merge feature, just trying to
One of those that has like a really long description.
John, it might be better just to pull an individual and look for an individual that has a residence or census fact, and then can show it there, because I think that's what they're talking about. It depends upon where on the right side of that individual screen you actually put something.
Yeah, let me just actually show up. Maybe display residence. Let me filter in. Let me just see if I got just. It's postal code. Yeah, this still isn't ideal.
What would probably be helpful to resolve some of this is if you could post a screenshot in the group on Facebook of what you're seeing,
Yeah.
and then you can maybe help see what you're seeing and decipher that.
Yeah, or well, here, let's just do this once. See if I can find a census image or a census. Here we go. Talking like if you like merge in something like this, you know, where you got a really long. I'll just merge that in. I don't know if that's the right person or not. Like I said, I can roll back this change, so. So are you talking like with this? Where some of this gets cropped off?
No, I don't have a problem there. It's when it's in the book. When I create the book with family, the creator, when I.
Okay, let's create a book here.
So maybe you could do it, John, with the two options of having it in with the person narrative paragraph or as a table.
Yeah. All right, now let's.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with anything in the family tree maker. It's when I do the book and it pulls the information from family tree maker. And I don't have a problem with the census record showing and so on, if it does, but it picks up what I have put in there as a source.
And that's where it'd be helpful if you could share a screenshot in the group.
I don't even know how to do that.
Okay, because so here it is as a table.
So remember when we talked about the description being shown, if your citation information was in the description, it would show in the paragraph. That's one way it would happen.
Yeah.
It would also happen if it was in the fact note, if you have that information in the fact note.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It's coming from the source.
Yeah, we'll have to probably see a visual to be able to understand that a little better.
How do I give that to you?
Do you have snippet or snipping tool
Yeah.
that can do a screenshot of an area on your computer. Then you can save that file like to your desktop and then upload that image to the Facebook group.
Hmm. I don't know. I have to do that.
I think in Family Tree Maker, there's a unit on how to use snipping tool or doing screenshots that might help.
I know how to use Snippet.
Okay. Because sometimes us being able to see it, what's going on is really helpful.
Yes. But
So it always depends where the information has been recorded in Family Tree Maker and the options you are using to put them out inside the book, right? So for example, for footnotes or endnotes, you can select if you would like to include the text of the source citation as well or not. So maybe if you have added a long text because you transcribed the source record inside the source citation, then you may only want to see where the information is coming from, which page, which year, and things like that, but not the details. So this can be selected in Family Book Creator as well. So under Preferences General, there are options available which kinds of information should be included or not.
right, that's what I'm thinking. Is how do I go through there and say I don't want to include the source?
You do not want to include the sources for all residents or census facts?
Okay.
Then you can, like John is just
Well,
showing.
right here, you can just, if you don't want the citation included, you can just exclude it for the residents or the census fact.
Okay, if under there where you're pointing where it says exclude, does that exclude all sources or just for
Just for that fact type, and likewise, just for the primary, you'd also have to probably go into the partner, and likewise the child no main section too.
Okay.
So you can specify for which fact types you would like to include source citations and for which fact types you would like to omit source citations, right?
Okay, so there's a place to exclude all source citations then.
This is under Preferences. Preferences General. There you can select to exclude all source citations.
Yeah.
Do not. It's currently
Right here.
So there's a drop-down box where you can select what should happen to all your source citations.
Then they wouldn't, okay, then I wouldn't have to go in and do them individually, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you can say, yeah, insert, you can do them, yeah, footnotes, endnotes.
Okay, so I'll go in there and take a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps me.
Or you could do that, and then I think under option, or no. Indexes, you can also just include like a list of sources as a bibliography. So, yeah, back to this is
that was under sources, John.
Yeah, preferences, source citations.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's where you can say whether you don't want any source citations or whether you want them as footnotes or endnotes. Or even embedded. Embedded really gets.
Okay, perfect.
And you can also specify, if you look at the checkboxes below the drop-down box, you can specify if the web address should be included, if the notes should be included, things like this, right?
Yeah, what to include, yeah.
Could you go back to the screen before and where it says children, the first screen, I think it said children and other.
Yeah, that's items, yeah.
The list of children and list with main section, children and list, no main section. What's the difference between those two?
Okay, the children with main section. The children with main section, that's like this this main book here, you know, where it lists, no. Let me just open up a different book here. Because that one is. Let me do this one here. I just created this one not too long ago. These are my great-grandparents. So, okay, so in this one right here, this is in this story, this Clarence, this is the primary. Gladys Laura Bloomfield, that's the spouse. Now right here in this context right here, since all these kids have kids of their own and their own section, these are all, let me go back here, are children enlist with a main section of their own. Let me go back here. And you can tell that because they got like a little plus sign that they're listed here. So basically only basic information is printed here.
Okay.
Now, the children no main section, this is where basically they don't have a section of their own. And now this is determined on right here, create family sections for, and this is for individuals with children. You could tell it for individual with the children or spouse, or only living individuals, or if you say all individuals, then no one would ever fit into this category right here.
Did you say no one would fit into that category?
Yeah, if you tell it to create a family section for all individuals.
Is there a reason not to do that? Why would you? Because it would get too big?
Well, for instance, me, I've never been married. I don't have kids. If I do a book like this, which is what this is, the only picture that will print is my portrait picture.
Oh, okay.
You know, so like some of these extra photos down here.
Yeah.
You know, I've got other photos on my, if I would want those extra photos of me to print, I'd either have to like add them in Word, or I'd have to tell it to create a section for everyone. So, I mean, that's the only way someone, or like a kid, you could add all the media.
Okay.
Now, John, go back to the preferences there, FBC preferences.
Yeah.
And then another reason, and then to the, pick the list of children with main section. Now, another reason here to exclude the person notes and things of that sort is there'll be repetition when they're in their main section. You'd see all their detail in the list section, no, in the parent section, then you'll see it all repeated again when they're the primary focus people or persons. So, in this tab here that John has selected, I would normally exclude the person notes, exclude the fact notes for them and a person in that section, because I don't want it repeated when they are now the primary and partner persons of the new section.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
It's like, see, I've only got the also known as, the birth, death.
Just very basic information, burial maybe, or.
So listed as the primary person, their children are listed just basically, and then as they become the primary person.
Now, if they aren't listed, then I list all the other stuff, and I even say, well, then even include their spouse and stuff.
That's because depending on how you make the book here, that information won't be anyplace else.
Right.
And this is mentioned in the user guide on page 33.
Okay.
Now.
So I found a good thing about user guides is after you know the program fairly well, they're very helpful. And sometimes when you're new to them, they can be difficult to find what you want to find.
Yeah.
I agree, because I just started this and I just got the user guide and it was like, Oh my goodness. That's why I went to your great Facebook page, because I got a lot of information there.
So the information is in the user guide. It's very clear once you know where to find it. And it has an
On that
index.
note, what is the best way to get help if you are stymied and you've read it and you've reread it and you've read it 3 times and it still is just Greek to you? What's the best way to get help on a problem? Is it just going to the Facebook page, or is there, I mean, I've done all these live chat things and found out that that's just a waste of time, in my opinion.
Live chat.
I went to do live chat for Family Book Creator.
Correct. Yeah,
I'd say
live
come to the
chat for
Facebook
book
group
creator?
for general stuff, and if it's like something like, okay, that's something. If it's something like, okay, we think it's a bug or something else, or maybe it might involve like something unique to your tree, we'll say, okay, you've got email support, and then
support, right?
And then we'll give you the link, and that's just the support at familybookcreator.com.
And how long should it take to get an answer to a support email?
I usually get like a response by the next day.
This depends.
But yeah.
Yeah, it depends on when you send it, because Stefan is in Germany, so could be.
If I get a whole bunch of requests, I can't answer them all on one day or 1 week. So I have a long list, and currently I have a backlog. So I work hard getting to 0, but it's really not possible at the moment.
Are you the only person answering those emails?
You are what?
Are you the only person answering those emails?
You send them to support at familybookcreator.com, yes.
Oh, well, I feel for you.
So probably using the Facebook group might be the best.
I'm sorry?
That's what I was going to say. You might want to post on the Family Book Creator Facebook page first, because somebody else may have come across that problem, or they may have a solution for you. And after, I don't know, a couple days or so, if that doesn't work out, then see if Stefan can help you out.
Yeah.
I've gotten answers really quickly on my few questions. I just started this a couple weeks ago, but every time I've posted, somebody answers right away.
Yeah, when I post problems, I've had answers from both John and James very quickly.
And then we can post, or anyone can post, a screenshot of like this screen here. You can highlight the main areas to focus. First, select number 1, book items. Then number 2, select main part. Then 3, select items to include. Then 4, select child in list of children with no main section, and be able to hopefully let a person follow what you're looking at. And then another image for maybe a next section or something.
Okay.
Question? Oh, sorry. I have a question.
Yeah.
On the Facebook group for Family Book Creator, under list, with these the different Facebook creator media categories, is there sort of an explanation for what each one does?
Well, that's the manual has that.
I find it in, like, they're not all in the manual, but.
Let me just open up the manual here.
Don, while you're doing that, one question. Do you have Family Tree Maker large font, use large fonts on?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Here, let me do this. Let me just reduce my image. Here. This should make it.
Yes.
That should make it bigger for you. Because
what's John showing you on the left side here, the bookmarks And if you, you can type or look and see maybe a section of where you want to go. Like John, you can scroll down to what, the media section?
Yeah. Yeah, like, yeah, here's like the Family Chart Center and stuff. What that does, that's like this picture up here. To assign that. But yeah, it's like usually a lot of stuff that we
there you go
arrange stuff for is this photo album. This is like you've almost got these page numbers, you know, memorized. Yeah, go see page 45. Here's 45 to 50. You know, here's the photo album full width. Here's the, yeah, let me
just. Online one instead of the paper one.
You know, the page width, here's the handle story as image for the PDF. Include, and then different, you know, include only the, here it says, I think by default, it only, somewhere it says that, by default, a PDF, it will print the first 5 pages. Somewhere it says that.
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, but then it's got to say, well, you could say only print the first page or print all pages.
Okay.
And then use only images, use only the largest image. Exclude, distort image. This is how Family Book Creator sorts the images.
John, there was a question, I think, about this aspect that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
How images are sorted.
Yeah, how it takes it in the order in which it places the media items in the book. And then how you can change that too, if need be. And then here's how, now here's the unique stuff with 2019 with the word processor documents with the handle story as text.
That's a really nice feature too.
Yeah, before the family tree chart, after the family tree chart, keep sections. Now there are these 4, and I don't know, maybe that keep sections, that may not be in here.
Keep sections is in, but not the other 4. They are brand
Yeah,
new. They are only mentioned in the change history right now.
Yeah, they're currently in here where it's mentioned. And here's where it tells what those are. So and and eventually that manual will be getting updated, and likewise I periodically check that date, and when it's updated I'll make an announcement and say, hey, new user guide for 2019. And so but yeah, I suppose I could change that media category text file and just give a little, but they are, for the most part, they are all in the user guide. So except for like these things with this, all this 584 has only been out for what, 2-3 days officially. So
can we update to that?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because shouldn't the program be saying if
It does. Mine did today.
Yeah.
Mine did today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, but it says you're running an old version, so.
So you get an update notification once a day if your version is outdated. And you can always go to the FAQ section on the web page as well. John, if you can go back. As we have been before. The change history.
Oh.
And scroll up. Does support FAQs? Yeah. I think it's number 3. No, it's on the top. how to get program updates, number 4.
Oh,
So, and there's mentioned how this update mechanism works. So there's no auto update. At the end, you are going to the download area and you have to download the file, and the file can be used to update the existing installation. So you do not have to uninstall and reinstall. Just run the setup package and it will update the existing installation.
Were they talking about some big park and something coming from the north? Yeah, I wonder if Russ, in Syracuse, those folks have been, along the way and get snow. I wonder if they'll get some more snow. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah. Well, they were talking about snow up in that area this morning. On the
okay. Well, anyone got some more questions?
I do, John.
Yep.
Lori here. Would you mind reviewing, or at least telling me in the links, or sorry, the file section on the Facebook page, is there a review of the options, children with no main section and children with section or whatever that we discussed today? Is there a file on that?
Well, that would probably be, that's in the manual itself.
Yeah. I still can't get it right. I tried 4 times to understand that, and I created 4 different books using all the different options, and I ended up creating a book that had repeats of all the information, and then going in manually and deleting the repeated information.
So what you want to do is in the primary and partner, that's where you want all the details.
Okay.
You make sure when you select each of the facts, like John had residence facts selected, or you maybe want all those facts selected. That's where they're the primary focus person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when they're in the list of children, John, go to that one. Here, you only want the basic information, or likely the basic information. And this is probably where you're getting repeats. You want birth, death, burial, maybe, and that's about it. And then all the other facts that are there, you have to then select them and exclude the person notes, exclude the fact notes.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
You want only minimal information here. Basically, primary partner, even children with no main section, because they're not going to be listed elsewhere.
Okay. I'll try that again. Thank you.
I basically try to keep the same, and when you do these sections, like baptism facts, say you set it up say, okay, I tweak this stuff. You can, say, copy these fact type options, and then you can paste them to all the baptism fact types. So now what that will do is that will copy all these, however you tweaked all the settings for this baptism, it will paste that same thing to partner, child main section, and no main section.
Interesting.
It won't necessarily select them because, here, let me just copy it and then paste it to all of them.
Okay.
And see this one, it still didn't select that. So with the child with the main section, it still isn't going to print that baptism fact, but it's going to make those settings the same. So let's just say, okay, I don't want to include a fact note for that. Okay, I copy it. And now I paste it to all of them. Now if I go to the partner, yep, no fact note, no fact note.
Okay.
Well, your problem is likely in the child and list of children with main section is where you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, these three sections I try to keep identical for the number of facts.
Okay.
Now, partner, you do have a few extra because the partner, that's where the shared facts come in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the marriage fact is, for instance.
Right.
That's the only place where the marriage, the divorce, you might have partners, separation,
Yeah.
That's where all the shared facts are under the partner.
With the partner, right.
And then
So
once
do
get
you
your-
select those for the partner or not? Like the marriage date?
Yes.
You do, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's always the partner to the primary. So for that, you know, because otherwise it's because if you do like primary to the partner and there's two partners, well, you might have a marriage fact for one of them, but not the other, or I mean, at least ambiguity as to which one it applies to. Or with partner, it doesn't. So,
Thank you.
I've created books that aren't good, you know. How do I get rid of those so I can start over? Because I just started by quickly creating a book, and then I saw things that were wrong. And so after this, I'm going to go back and do all the stuff you are recommending. So what happens to those books that I've created already?
well, if they're PDFs, you can either delete them or just save them. And I mean, it's
so they're not in Book Creator. I don't have to go here and do anything.
No.
Okay.
It's a
All
file
right.
on your computer.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
it's a file on
good.
your computer.
Okay.
And usually when you first generate the file, it's going to tell you where it's going to put it.
Yeah, I
And
know
then you
where
just
they are.
look for it in that folder. Now,
Okay.
one thing that's important here, that after you get your settings made, you want to save those preferences.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you give it a name that's maybe appropriate for the type of book you're making or something of that sort.
Mhm.
Then you can bring it back in. Family Book Creator remembers the last used preferences, not necessarily the last saved preferences.
Right.
John's tweaked his things here. When he opens Family Book Creator again, it's going to remember everything he's done.
Right. So it's like, yeah, see, and I don't care because I've got my settings saved and I've got them for a variety. And now with 2017, it's not an issue. With 2019, see all this title page, colophon dedication. Well, it's usually dedication title page. These are the ones that change. Well, it's like, this one isn't gonna really pertain to my ancestors that came from Norway, you know. You know, and stuff. When you save those preferences, those pages save them if you save them in this FBCS format. So it's like, especially when I'm playing with some of these settings, I'll save them in the 2017, the BCS format. And then, so right now I've got like I call them my new master settings. I'm not going to save that because I've been tweaking these. So that now when I go to, so I'll say, okay, I'm going to load, okay, I'm going to do it, say, for my hall line. Let's see, and whoops. Let's see, there's my great grandpa Hall, Gladys. But then, well, I know I recently did this, but it's like if I haven't done this book in a while, I'll also go load this new master settings, because that will change all these other settings, but it won't touch these 5 pages. So.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been very, very helpful, and I need to get off now, but I hope you'll do these again. Really help. It's really great.
Stay with it. Just do 1 or 2 generations to start.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, especially when you're tweaking them. Yeah, just do 1, 2 generations. Yeah, because the book will generate real quickly.
And then you could go back and tweak if you don't like what you've got, right? Okay, that's a great idea. I will
Because
do
like
that.
this one from my great-grandparents, when I generate this book, it takes about 10 minutes to generate this book.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got some books that probably take about a half hour. James, I know, has got books that take even longer. You know, so you don't want to wait that long just to see how one little change, if it does what you want to do. No, it's like.
And the inclusion of media take up probably most of the processing time.
Yeah.
What's handling the media.
So may I ask a quick question?
Sure.
This is Laura. So I ran a practice book on one great-grandparent and his descendants, and it was 317 pages, and that was just a small part of my family. So do you have an overall, just sort of general idea of, if I have 2,500 people and I have photos for 300 of them, can I get that in one book reasonably, do you think?
I guess it'll depend on how many media you have, what size you present them at. I have one line of my wife's family that's probably maybe about that many people, but it was about 3,000 pages with just text only, and it was about 14,000 pages with all the media in 2-by section. So in a book like that, it's impossible to print.
Yeah.
Or probably would be, but then you have to decide what information you want to keep. You can exclude certain media by using the categories in Family Tree Maker also, and then tell Family Book Creator, do not use this category. And that may be useful for like census information that in the printed book may not be readable anyhow.
Okay.
And John's showing the exclude filter here, that if you use categories, and then like you could say, I don't want to use census images. And you may have other ones
like vital records, because like especially like some of those images where they're all they are is like an index. It's like, you know, whoopee and that, you know, it's like it's important to have the source, and if you ever would want to order the actual document, but as far as printing it, it's like not that important in my opinion, you know.
And then John has one option that will reduce the book significantly, is avoid duplicates, which is just north of his option.
Yeah, that's right
you
here.
Turn that on, you have the same image attached to 5 different people or facts. It will only print when the first person is affected. The other ones will be a link saying, go see figure number 203.
Right.
One of the other things you need to consider is how much RAM you have in your computer. That's memory.
Yeah.
Just because you have, say, 8 gigabytes of RAM may not mean you have a lot of space, because if you've got a lot of programs running and on a Windows computer, it shows in the bottom right corner what you've got running, it may take up a lot of that. I know on my machine, I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM because I do a lot of GIS type images and stuff, but you need to make sure you've got enough RAM as well, because that could be it could run out of RAM and just stop functioning.
Now, I talked to a person a few months ago who was complaining about Family Tree Maker not being able to make their book. And we were talking quite a bit about it. The person sent me their file, and I tried it on my machine that has a lot more RAM than theirs did, and things of that sort. The book still wouldn't be generated in Family Tree Maker, but then I used Family Book Creator to make the tree, or make the book. It made the book, took about 3 hours, but it was 35,000 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And so, of course, Family Tree Maker, has difficulty making large books anyhow. And of course, one that size would be impossible.
You might consider you're going for ancestors of the starting person to do a book for each of your parents. And that could cut the book size in half.
And I think you could possibly do for different lines, and then save each one as an individual Word document. And then there is a way to merge those documents into one big book in Word. But then again, you got to watch out if, I think until a recent version of Word, you may have a limitation there. I know the latest version of Word doesn't have a limitation on the size document.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised and impressed when Microsoft updated Word 2016 and 2019 can do files greater than 512 megabytes.
Yep.
So I've made books that are, I think, up to about 3 gigabyte.
Yeah. So at the end, it depends what you would like to achieve, right? So if you would like to print just everything you have recorded in your tree, this may be possible to generate a document, but it may not be possible to get it printed, right?
Yeah.
So I would think you should focus on specific branches of your family where you would like to tell a story, and not just a collection of births and death dates. And yeah, get this done. Start small. Maybe you just start with something for a wedding anniversary or birthday party. Generated books about their relatives up to 2 degrees, and that's it. Then you will still get a huge number of pages, but you can handle this amount of data as well, because you need to proofread your data and make a lot of corrections. So what people always complain about is, yeah, the program is great and does compile great books, but now I see all the issues I have recorded in my tree, right? So at the end, you need to proofread it. And if you build something with 2,000 pages, for sure, nobody is ever going to look into such a book.
And if you need to make changes, try to make them within the Family Tree Maker program. Otherwise, every time you generate a book, you could have to make the same changes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
make as
wondering-
many edits as you can within the program itself. And
which brings me to a question in FBC. I've just done a couple small books, 1 or 2 generations, still playing around, but it might say, for example, an individual, you've got their first, middle, and last name. Every time it puts a fact in there, it repeats first, middle, last name, first, middle, last name. Is there a way to change that in Family Tree Maker so that it might say he or she after the first iteration of that name?
So the name options.
yeah, that's because usually it's and here, here it gives, okay, here's the name here, then here, repeated mention of the name. You can do either the first, or you can just say, hey, just may their first name or first middle or first,
Yeah, because it seems like FBC creates a standard statement and it just sticks that in there. It might say Lloyd John Smith was born on this date, and then it'll say Lloyd John Smith was married on this date. I think it would be better to say he married on this date, or they married, or something like that, rather than saying the exact same first, middle, last name for every fact that's in there.
I think, isn't there stuff in there where it will occasionally say like he or she?
Yeah, it says he or she every second time, and does mention the name only when it's necessary. And so the first format used is used for the birth facts, and it's used for the marriage fact types as well.
So I need to look at the screen that I'm seeing right now, and maybe make some changes there, and that'll change it in FBC.
Yeah, name formats, name format, then you do it for primary partner.
Right?
Right, for each section, okay.
Primary partner and children.
That's the biggest problem I have with FBC. There's so many options and so many things you can select. It's like,
Yeah.
I like that, but it can be overwhelming at times. But it's a great thing to be able to do that.
Well, one thing users could do then would be upload their preference settings, and then people could look at them. And someone may have done 80% of the work of what most users might use, and then
Yeah.
you can load those into your settings and modify them as you see fit.
Right.
And yeah, and if you're ever in trouble, like in the files, you can upload your settings, and because in here, the file section, here's like the settings, some sample settings I've used here. This usually doesn't print the citation media. This FBC settings, this I believe is done by James. That does print the citation media. But yeah, it's like if you'd want one of us to look at it, you could upload it here and stuff. And when someone was talking about combining books, someone did create a kind of a walkthrough on how to combine, like if you want to do a Descendants and Ancestors book combined, how you can do it. You have to do it in Word. You know, you create the Descendants and Ancestors, and there's a variety of ways of doing it. You know.
Yeah, I did something like that. I wanted a book that was me and my ancestors, my wife and her ancestors, and then our kids.
Yeah.
So we had those 3 books we wanted to combine.
Yeah, I made one for a cousin of mine because she wanted one, you know, like that, and so on. I basically I wound up doing like, okay, the ancestors of her father, of her mother, and then the descendants of her and her husband. And then it's like, you can combine them. And the beauty of how it is like, you think, well, am I going to have 3 table of contents and 3 place name indexes and 3 name indexes? No, because the table of contents and those indexes are all generated pages. So you've only got 1 table of contents and 1 place name index and 1 table of contents, or 1 name index. So you just combine them, and you just have it regenerate the stuff, and the table of contents regenerates the place name, and the name index regenerates. And same thing would probably be for if you do the endnotes. And
Does that document that I see on the screen titled Creating a Combined Descendants and Ancestors, does that explain how to take more than 1 book that FBC has created and merge it into one?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Could you open that so we can just see it briefly?
Sure. Now as like another user of the group did this.
Okay, good.
Basically, it's like, yeah, he used it. So basically, yeah, he did
That's exactly what I was doing, yeah.
Yeah, ancestors of A. Yeah, you'd create docx, ancestors of B, then descendants of A and B. No, and he just goes through. Yeah, this is a big thing. If you ever do start doing it, you have to turn on the hidden codes, because if you start editing the stuff, all those headings are all generated fields, and you have to edit the codes themselves, which are hidden.
Right.
The text. So it's that kind of funny backwards P. So, but yeah, this document's there. You can download it, print it. It's what, 6 pages long.
Right, that's great. Thank you.
So, yeah. So, and then, so we got any more questions?
I have a question. This is Nancy. I have a relative who tried to kill his mother-in-law. So there was this big, huge court case. And I have about 30 newspaper articles. I don't want to include all 30 of them, but probably a fair number of them. So any suggestions on what I should do?
Well, do you have all those media attached to them right now? Or?
No, I just have them sitting in a folder off, not even in Family Tree Maker, because I was hoping that somehow I would be able to ask you guys what you think I should do.
Well,
I would add all the images to a fact maybe, or to the person affected, maybe a fact. And then the ones you don't want to include in the book, you make private.
Yeah.
So I could make a fact like trial, something like that, add all those newspaper articles to that fact, and then choose some of them to be private.
Yeah, that should exclude then the ones that are private.
Yeah, you just take a thing, just mark private, and then, yeah, because then by default, anything in Family Book Creator, you can print private media, but by default it won't. Yeah, and that's like right here, include private. So as long as that's unchecked, it won't print anything that's marked private.
Some of the articles are just repeats of, you know, all the information that they had already given. I don't know why they decided to print on a day, whatever. So some of them don't give any new info, some do, you know.
Yeah, some of those I probably wouldn't even bother putting in, because it's like, I know my grandfather, he died falling off a bridge. And then, I mean, yeah, there's like numerous newspaper articles, but you know, most of the articles were basically the same thing, and I just kind of kept the ones that kind of included the most info.
I had a person who was murdered in New York City, and there are many newspapers in New York City, so I don't want to show them all in the book.
Would it be better to create a fact in Family Tree Maker, maybe called "Do Not Include" in FBC, and then come over here to this image I see on the screen, and then where it says "Filter by Media Categories," exclude, you know, you title it, and then that way you wouldn't get confused by that private versus the Family Tree Maker classification of private.
Well, the private and Family Tree Maker and private here are exactly the same thing.
Oh, okay.
But yes, if say you would want, say if you sync that tree to say Ancestry, and if you would want that media item on Ancestry, but you don't want to print it, yes, you could just create a custom category like "Do Not Print," and then just put that in the exclude filter.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is then Family Book Creator, when you start the program, each time you start it reads your media categories and then it loads those in, so then you can deal with them through FBC.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Other reasons to do this too would be, I have some probate records that I've downloaded all the individual images that were on Ancestry. And for one person, it was about 300 images. Now, of those 300, only maybe 2 or 3 would be useful in a book, and the rest just, you know, are the lawyer's notes of, you know, $2.50 went to such and such. So then this kind of thing could be done that way too. But I want to include all those images with the person because they're historically attached to, you know, documents attached to that person. But then use either media categories or privacy then to hide the items in the book.
Yeah. And one thing I know you can use both the include and exclude filter, but at the same time, but in general, I'd say not to. Because, well, one, I believe the include filter takes precedence.
So the difference is by default, everything is included.
Yeah.
But then you can define an exclude filter for things you do not want to include. For example, you do not want to include census images in general. But maybe now you have 2 or 3 census images. You think they are that interesting for the readers that you would like to include those. So you tag those 3 census images with a special media category and then use the include filter. So you can exclude all census images except these 3 ones where you use the include filter for. Right? So by default, everything gets included. The include filter is only useful for elements where you are using the exclude filter.
Items that would otherwise be excluded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This has been very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have to go, but thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've got to run as well.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
No.
Yes, me as well. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll
Well,
be back.
this might just be a good. Oh, you got a question?
No, bye. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I'm wondering when our next one will be.
Oh, yeah.
To be determined. I don't know. Maybe we can try it in two weeks, and maybe we'll try it in. Maybe we'll try it a little bit later, so maybe the folks in Australia and New Zealand won't get left out. Because I know is a difference of 4 votes between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. So.
Fair enough. Thank you so much.
So, okay. Well, thanks for attending, everyone. So.
Stefan, it was nice of you to be on the call also. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Definitely.
Thanks very much.
No. Okay. Thanks. And we'll talk to everyone online later.
Great.
Okay. Bye.